What's going on, you guys, and welcome to another video. In this video, I'm going to be showing you exactly how I have built my rental portfolio so that I can be on a cruise in the Caribbean and still having contracts and business and everything run. And so in this video, I gave a speech at the Omaha RIA in front of almost 200 people about how to build systems so that you can have your real estate business running itself so that you could be out here like this, still closing deals. And for context, if you don't know me, I built a $20 million portfolio in my 20s. I've done 7 figures of flipping, and I have consistently done 7 figures of flipping. I just got 4 contracts in the last 2 days, and I didn't negotiate them. I didn't do anything. Literally, my team is doing all of it. And so this is going to be how to win in real estate by putting in systems and people in the right places. So without further ado, let's jump on in.
All right. Well, thank you for that introduction. I look up to everyone that was on this stage at some point in my career. I think the most exciting thing is that, guys, I started this in 2018. So I was sitting right where you were in 2018 saying like, Owen, what do I do? So there's hope for every single person in this room. You're in the right room. All right. So my speech is going to be around systems. Now, when every single real estate investor gets started, there's always 2 things of lack. Usually people say, I don't have enough money, or I don't have enough deals. Who has felt like that? Right? Now, I'm gonna counter you a little bit here, and I'm gonna say it's not the fact that you don't have money, and it's not the fact that you don't have deals, or that you wish you had more, but it's the fact that you don't have systems bringing you deals and money consistently, as well as systems having things operate in the background so that you can go get more deals while your real estate functions by itself. Okay? So let me grab the clicker. We'll go through this. There we go. So as they said at this point, so why am I qualified to sit here if I started in 2018? So I have a home buying company, Full Circle Real Estate. I buy and gross over $1 million a year at this point. I now am a hard money lender, and so my hard money lending company, Full Circle Financing, helps others who say, I don't have the money. Now you have the money, no excuse. Okay? I'm co-founder of Velocity Title and Escrow now. So it's an investor-friendly title and escrow company. Shout out to Sean and Malia as well, co-founders. And I did the enormously fun task of vertically integrating with my portfolio. So I have 4 full-time employees that do all of my property management, so I can sit here and talk to you today and not be doing leasing. Does that sound fun? Doesn't sound fun to me. I wrote the book, Your First 100 Units, How to Build a Real Estate Portfolio. This book is broken into 3 sections, how to go from 0 to 1, 1 to 10, and 10 to 100. And so you can pick that up on Amazon. My last speech I gave a bunch away, so if you missed it, sorry. And then like Owen said, so I've joined a lot of masterminds. I am now a real estate coach. I founded the 7-Figure Mastermind, which is a real estate mastermind here locally. We have over $45 million of real estate owned within the group right now. And I teach on this subject every single week on how to build systems so that people can better their portfolio. So today, I'm gonna teach on 4 different things. You're gonna get 4 weeks worth of coaching in one, and one I've never taught on before in the mastermind. So you guys get a lot today. First, this is not about me. I don't say this to brag. I say this to show you I've made a lot of mistakes, but there are ways that you can do this. So if you take from some of this, you can shorten your learning curve, have less mistakes like I did, and build some effective systems. So there's gonna be 4 stages of this speech for you guys, okay? Number 1 is how to build an effective system so that you can scale your portfolio. Number 2 is how to get more for your time. Because who realizes we all have the same amount of time, but some people get a lot more done? Is it because they're super productive? Or is it because they have systems running in the background? Find out. Tune in later. All right? Next, I'm going to show you some practical systems that I use in my portfolio so that all of you who own real estate or are going to own real estate, you can literally rip off and duplicate, which is the best way, by the way. And then the last thing I'm going to do is show you, if I were to restart from 0 today, what would I do? Because guess what? What worked in 2018 may not work now. Ooh, markets change. So what would I do if I was starting right now? And what am I actually doing right now? Cool? Does that sound good? All right. Did I bring the energy? Is the room up? Do you need to high five someone before we get going? It's the last one.
Does he have $100?
I don't have $100, but you know. All right. So let's talk about systems. A system is a step-by-step process that takes something from start to finish so the same result can be achieved every single time. Okay? There are 3 things that you need to create a system to have things functioning for you in the background. The first thing, come on, clicker. Systems, there you go. First thing is the result. So you have to start with a clear, this is the result I'm after, okay? If I need an apartment leased, that's the result. The apartment leased is what actually will happen when it's done, okay? After and under that, you need the tasks, if the clicker will cooperate. Do I need to point over here?
Oh, Jerry for help.
10 lists. Oh, you guys got another one. All right, so you get the tasks. The tasks are each individual thing that has to happen. And then guess what? One person or a person is responsible for those tasks. So to create the system, you need to know each task and you need to assign a person responsible for it. All right, so here's what not to do. So this is the result of me having very bad systems. I quit my job in 2021 and I started a property management company. This was the 4th time that I was in the hospital. I had hired unqualified people to manage my portfolio. I did not have good systems and I could not check out from work. I couldn't trust people. I trusted people to do it and then they didn't get the result. And then I couldn't trust people to do it and I couldn't check out from work. Has anybody ever felt like that? Like, bro. And so I'll give you an example of my first in-person hire was a gal that I hired to do my property management and do my leasing for me. And she buys a laptop. I'm like, okay, we're gonna meet, we're gonna train, I'm gonna go over how to do our leasing CRM. You're gonna do the leasing calls for me, you're gonna do the showings, right? So we sit down to train, and I was like, okay, open up your browser. And she looks at me and she goes, what's a browser? I'm like, oh no. But I was young and dumb and I didn't know how to get qualified people to work for me. So I sat there and I held her hand and I taught her what a browser was and I taught her how to do leasing calls, and I wasted so much of my time with someone who ended up not being a good fit. Has anyone ever trained someone that ended up not being a good fit? You're just like, bro, it's the worst. So anyways, my wife, the 4th time, is like, you cannot keep doing this. You can't be on this cycle. So what I did is I hired a coach. He came in, he helped me implement systems in my portfolio so that I could get out of this vicious cycle. So that's what I did. And some of you may be thinking, okay, well, how do I trust others to do things for me proficiently? Shout out to Brett and Brandon. I don't know if Brandon's here, but that was the question that I asked. So that's what you may be thinking. How do you trust someone to do it? Well, there is a way. So I call it the perfect playbook framework. If any of you guys want to be real estate investors or business owners, you're not going to be able to do it all yourself. Well, you can, you just will not get as much out of time as you will with other people that have an army working with them. Understand? So if you want to have people working with you, here is exactly how to do it. Here's me saving you 4 trips to the hospital and doing it the wrong way for literally years. There's 3 phases. So you create a playbook. The first phase is you capture things. That means you capture what you're doing. Now, the wrong way to do this is to literally think about it and write about it and design your SOP and then hire someone. That's the wrong way to do it. And you guys may be like, what? You're gonna hire someone without any infrastructure? You can do it, okay? So the right way is to capture and not slow down what you're already doing. So how do I do this? I use Loom, which is a software, if this clicker cooperates. So Loom Loom is a software that literally anytime I'm doing anything I know I'm not gonna be doing or don't wanna be doing long term, I just record my computer screen of me doing the thing. Guess how long that takes me? Like 30 seconds longer than normal. Guess when I hire someone what I have? An entire video library of training for them to learn the thing without me holding their hand being like, open your browser. Cool? So the first thing you do is capture it. The next thing you do is create the SOP. So standard operating procedures. I wasn't here for Andy, but I'm assuming he was a baller when it came to like standards and standard operating procedures because that's all operations. So when you're creating this, there's two ways to do it. Number one, you can create it as the business owner and be like, okay, this is what we do first, this is what we do second, this is what we do, it's all spelled out in this document. You can do that. I used to do that. I don't do it anymore. Now, for my home buying company, when I hired my second VA to do all of my marketing and dispos and offer gatheration, all they did is I recorded what I did and I had that VA create the SOPs for me. So they look at what I'm doing through my capture and then they create the SOPs. And there's two ways you can do it. You can do it yourself, slowly. Dude, where do I point this thing? At the TV. All right, thanks, Jose. All right, so first thing, you can throw things into ChatGPT, and ChatGPT can repurpose and create an SOP, but guess what? There's no ownership there, right? You don't know really how much was there unless you read it all. The employee can just do it and not really know. So the next stage of this is you actually have the employee create the SOP. This puts ownership on them, and guess what? If they can teach it, there's a lot better chance they have learned it. So that is capture, create, now you have SOPs, and now you forget about it and you never use them again. Wrong. So the last phase of this is you collaborate. So at this point, SOPs are living and breathing documents. There's gonna be problems that are in the SOP that are one-offs that happen that aren't in the SOP originally. So then you update things and you have an FAQ page and you just start to make sure that you collaborate on things. At this point, oh, by the way, I use Google Drive. So I put everything into a Google Drive. Now we have access for anybody that's in my organization. I create a Google Drive email, or I create a Gmail for them, right? And give them a Gmail access, and then I can just remove them as Gmail. That is your free way as a business owner to get people into your world. So that is how to create a perfect playbook. Come on, bro. All right. So this is what it looks like when you have a perfectly completed framework. As I've already said, this is what I used when I was hiring a VA to do all my marketing. Some of you may have seen my wholesale deals. Guess what? I don't create the marketing. I'm not actually responding to you. I'm not booking the showing. I'm not seeing your offer until everything is finally into a Google Sheet. And at that point, then it's on my plate to review offers and move forward with our best and highest buyer. So VA is working in the background. It stands for virtual assistant. It's not because I don't love you guys, but it's because I have a lot of other things, and that's going to go down in the background. So this has been delegated out. Okay? So that's what it looks like. As you can see, there's checkboxes for each thing, by the way. And that checkbox is hyperlinked. So we have big checkboxes of the results, that things that need done. When they click on the hyperlink, guess what that goes to? The SOP of how to do that thing. And then guess what's hyperlinked at the top? It's the video of me doing the thing. So now they have every resource to be able to do the thing without my involvement. That's how to create a perfect playbook. So the next thing is like, okay, that's cool, but what if something goes wrong? Well, nothing's ever gone wrong for me. Okay, not true. So there's always things that are gonna go wrong, right? So this is why it's a living and breathing document. If something goes wrong, the first finger I point is not at the employee, is not at the problem, it's at me. Is this a process problem? So if something happened, did we follow the process? And I'm gonna look at the SOP. So show me where in the SOP this states this. And they're like, yo, it's not in the SOP. Well, guess whose fault that is? That's me as the business owner. So we have to update our SOPs to include that new problem. If it happens again, now it's not the process problem. If it is in the SOP, then I'm gonna point the finger and it's gonna be a people problem, right? It's the person who is responsible for it. Why did they not follow the process? And if you start to see a repeatable thing, that is when you start to see common things repeat, that's when you should dismiss. That's when you know we have the wrong person, okay? But process first, person second. Come on, bro. We're gonna get used to this clicker, I promise. I think it's dying, guys.
It's gotta be a process on it.
Yeah, it's a process problem. All right, now you guys know how to create effective systems. Secondly, we're gonna move on to how to get more for your time. So I've made a lot of mistakes, but let me ask you this. Do I have more time than any of you? No, right? Do I get more done than you guys? Maybe, maybe not. Some of you guys, like Colin and Chris, you guys are ballers, right? But like, I have people that are helping me. So it's really hard. And this is a huge reframe of my mindset. I used to think that I had to be the guy for everything. That's when I passed out so many times, right? Like, if I'm just an A+, if I'm at 100% all the time, then like, nothing will get by me. Well, guess what? If I've got 5 people, you at 100% are never gonna compete with 5 people. You're just not. And so that's the reframe. If you wanna get more done, if you wanna make more, you gotta have enough operations to help you with that. All right, so how do we get more for our time? How do we get more clickers?
Get better.
Oh my gosh, all right.
Give it up.
It's like, there we go. Oh, the picture didn't show up. All right, so how do you get more for your time? It's leverage. That's supposed to be a picture of a red ball with a lever and a white ball, showing you get more for your time. All right, there's 4 ways that you can get more for your time through leverage. Okay, and I've implemented every single one. I really harp on you guys implementing as much as you can from this in this part. So the first one is tech. I'm gonna go into each one of them individually here. Tech, labor is next, capital, and media. So firstly, how do you use tech as a real estate investor to help you buy back your time, to help you get more time? Well, I'll just tell you the story. So the first thing I can tell you, when I was first collecting rent, I remember after work driving to a tenant's house to pick up late rent in cash. Has anybody ever done that?
Oh.
Yeah. And I was like, it's not all here. It's like, it's all you got. I'm like, I hate being a landlord. It's the worst. And then I feel like a drug dealer because it's in my counsel and I'm like, what do I do with cash? So the first thing is rent collection. Yeah, go to the club, Jose. The first thing is rent collection, right? You can have a software to collect rent so tenants pay all that and you don't have to worry about it, right? And then you're like, okay, well, what if you have tenants that want to pay cash? Well, I use AppFolio, I know Andy does too, but we have electronic pay slips. So we give the tenant an electronic pay slip. They can then take that to Walmart, CVS, Walgreens, and they can pay in cash at Walmart and it will go into my account. And I don't have to touch it and my property management team don't have to touch it. So,
Electronic. Wyatt.
yeah.
Go next. I'll hit next for you.
Oh, my man. Next.
Bring this
All right. Next one, I'll just point at you. Next one's phone system. So when you're getting started, I had tenants calling me on my phone. All my OG tenants had my phone number. Anybody have tenants with their phone number? That's right. So I was like, yo, that's not cool because what if I miss something and it's like a plumbing emergency? That sucks. So an easy leverage point, the next thing I did is I got a Google Voice number for free. And now anytime that Google Voice number rings, I know it's a tenant call, right? So I at least have separation of that. Now at this point, I have a home buying company where if the acquisition line rings, I know it's an acquisition call. I have my agent number. So if my agent number rings, I know it's an on-market agent call because I have my license. I have my hard money company number. So if my hard money company calls, I know it's from hard money. And then our property management team takes care of the rest, but I have a phone system for property management that rings to all of them. And then it rings to me last if everyone has missed. So that's the phone systems. Next, thanks. Bookkeeping. So, God, bookkeeping sucks. It's just the worst. So bookkeeping, at first I just didn't do. I was like, the money's all there, I think, if I just ignore it. But now it's like, no, you start raising capital and it's like, you need to know where every dollar is at all time. And that is where bookkeeping comes into play. And so bookkeeping, I mean, the easiest way to do this that I found is just get a business LLC and then get a business bank account or a separate bank account. You don't even need an LLC for a business, to be honest with you. You just need a bank account. Run everything through that account. Don't commingle that account with your personal life. I know, I've done it, it's hard, but you get everything set up and then you abide by that system. At that point, you can actually use tech like QuickBooks to categorize transactions for you. So in my personal life, I use something called Monarch, which categorizes all of my personal transactions. I can use AI, I can create rules, so everything goes. So all repeatable transactions categorize automatically. In my businesses, we use QuickBooks, and then in property management, I use AppFolio. Oh, last one, Calendly. So who knows what Calendly is? Who has never heard of Calendly? Uh-oh, you hate Calendly? All right, so Calendly, you ever had that conversation where you're like, yo, let's get together for coffee, Owen, because I want to pick your brain, right? Owen loves that. And he's like, yo, I love picking my brain. I'm free at 1 o'clock on Friday. And you're like, oh, I can't do 1 on Friday, but I can do Saturday at 12. And then he's like, oh, I can't do Saturday, but I can do like Sunday at 2. And by the time you finally get together, you've both wasted like 15 minutes of your life planning a stupid get together that Owen's not even going to enjoy. Calendly avoids that. So it's just a software that implements into your calendar. And guess what? If you want to book with me, I'm going to send you a link. I'm not going to talk about what time works for you and me. And then you're going to get to schedule right into my calendar for when works for me. And I've got everything pre-planned for when I want it. Right? So get Calendly.
Next.
Here we go. All right. So that's tech. Leverage number 2 is labor. We talked about having a system. Who knows John and Josh Miller? They were investors that came into town a while ago. And John Miller, when he came into town, he literally bought 116 homes, something stupid, in like 2 years. And guess what? He talked to one seller. How did he do it? He had someone, there we go, running acquisitions. So, and guess what? I was one of those guys. I got paid a commission for him buying houses. I ran some of his leads. And so you can use labor for acquisitions. You can also use labor for customer service. So when I was scaling, when I got to about 76 units, I was at a conference similar to this, but it was in Phoenix. And one of the coaches there, he goes, dude, you're managing 76 units by yourself? And I'm like, yeah, I don't have any time to buy deals. It kind of sucks. And he's like, dude, I'm not letting you go into this conference until you hire a VA. And I'm like, oh, I don't want to spend the money. And he's like, no. And so he literally, he's like, no. And so I took $500 on my credit card. I charged a placement fee for a headhunting service to find a VA before I entered the conference. That was my first ever hire. And then eventually I hired the gal that didn't know what a browser was. But yeah, so it only got better. But so customer service, you don't have to, the reason I hired him is because I just was getting tenant calls all the time, right? And I was like, dude, this is so terrible. So now I had someone as an in-between between the tenants and me. So I could find higher leverage, better opportunities with my time to do. All right, maintenance. The clicker's working sometimes, not. I don't know how, yeah, we need a better system. I'll have you click, I'll point at you. Okay. So maintenance, guys, I am not handy. I remodeled the first house myself with a buddy that told me what to do, but I am the least handy. So like, you may be handy, that's great. you can have a business or a side hustle. I would recommend that you hire out maintenance. Next, property management. You don't have to property manage. I wish someone would have told me that when I had 76 units, but I figured that out the hard way. You can pay someone for that so that you can focus on doing deals. Would recommend. Next. All right, next one is capital. So for capital, next. The first partner is bank financing. Guys, I built a $20 million portfolio in my 20s, and it was because I was a trust fund baby that was just rolling in dough. No, I came into Omaha in 2018 with a negative net worth, okay? Bank financing is the first of the capital partners that you can use, but this is gonna be key. This is why they talked about, I think Colin and Chris talked about earlier, using seller financing, right? That's a huge component of how they scale. And so capital, first use bank financing, next. The second thing that I used is private money. And guess what? The private money that I knew, they didn't even have money, but they had their house paid off in cash. And so they took a home equity line of credit on their house and let me use that as a line to start scaling and using capital. So for private money, I raise right now currently between 6 to 10%. That's what I'm raising at to be able to borrow that money and use it for deals and other things. So you can raise it for whatever. Next one is seller financing. We talked about that. In 2021 is when I bought a 23-unit apartment complex that was completely owned outright by the seller, and I paid 10%. He seller financed, or the group seller financed the other 90%. I was still gonna have to bring $90,000 for 10%. I didn't have that. So I went to a buddy that I worked with at Thrasher, and I was like, yo, dude, I know you don't have money either, but you have your house kind of paid off. It's still got a mortgage. How about you get a line of credit and then invest with me? And he did, and so that's how we got the money. And 13 months later, we refied all of his money out, and we own that 50-50. Great deal for him. Next one is subject to. So this is a hot one right now. Guys, subject to is how to make deals work that can't work at current interest rates. Anything that's bought between like 2020 to 2022. First option, subject to. Take it over subject to the existing mortgage so you can buy it without any of your money in, depending on how you structure it. But subject to is an incredible opportunity right now that we're gonna see less of, I predict, as people sell their home, refinance, or other investors gobble up the 2 and 3 and 4% interest rates that people had. Next. All right, number 4 is media. So who has seen some form of me on social media? There you go. So dude, social media is huge right now. Colin talked about earlier, your network is your net worth. So next. Build your network. You can do so through coming to events like this, joining masterminds, going to events, and joining social media groups. Next. So Facebook groups, if you're on the RIA, awesome. You guys are all on there. There's 10,000 people on there. And there are deals, there is capital, there is people that want to buy. Like there's so much opportunity just in that network. Do you have the time to actually go get to have conversations with people? I say, best rule of thumb, I've been told 5 meaningful conversations a day. I feel like I don't know, I do 3. Like that's what I've narrowed it to. Like, can I just have 3 conversations with people that reach out to me? It doesn't have to be super long, but it's at least, what are we figuring out? What do you want? What do I want? Is there any synergy? That's how to build your network. And fun fact, the more expensive the thing is to get into, the better your network's gonna get. So that Wheelbarrow Profits deal, like a lot of my investors came from me. I paid $20,000 to be a part of that mastermind that Colin got in for free. So I'm the sucker. But all of the East and West Coast money wanted to invest with a local operator, right? And I did the shit job. I did property management. I found the deals and I did the operations. So get into the groups. Next. And then raising capital through media. Guys, I had a Facebook post that I raised $450,000 from. Just one post. And then I'm teaching this in my mastermind. I'm like, guys, this worked for me. You should do this. Guy in my mastermind raises $500,000 from one post. I'm like, that works. So use it. Now, here's how to do that, by the way. It's not, hey guys, who wants to invest with me? That's not it. You want to show what you're doing. So the reason why, the best advice I ever had was the first mastermind I joined. The guy's like, hey, this is when I had 2 deals. The guy's like, just document your journey. I was like, dude, Facebook, it's for girls, like whatever. He's like, no, dude, just post every time you're doing a deal, just document your journey. You'd be shocked. And so that's all I did. I just documented what I did. And so if you're doing a deal, if you're making an offer, if you're refinancing, document what you're doing. You'll be shocked that you'll attract people that want to be with you and can synergize with you. So that is how to build trust and then attract what you want through it. Next. All right. So let me ask you, you heard all this. Just what is one way that you are going to implement leverage in your real estate business right now? I want you to think through one thing, write it down, and we'll have one person share on the mic. One brave soul. By the way, you get better if you get outside your comfort zone. Who wants to share? What were you doing? What are you going to do now? Yes.
I'm looking to buy a town, and I have a gentleman that's working with me, and so I guess I need to look for more investors.
All right. I love it. So you're going to start looking for more investors. What's your name? Alilia? Salilia? All right. Okay, I love it. We'll give it up for Salilia. All right. Part of this, I'm going to put pauses in here so that you can actually think through and not mentally masturbate. Like, think through, what am I saying? And then what are you going to apply to where you're at? And then write it down. That is how to get the most out of these things. So commit to what you're going to apply for, right, or apply to your life, and then we'll move on. All right, next. So let me ask you a question. What is your most precious resource? Time? Any other? House? Health? Okay, that's a good one. Hairline. It's good. All right. So usually I hear time. Health is a good one. I have not heard that one before, but it's very true. I'm going to say your most precious resource is your focus. Because guess what? We all have the same amount of time, but if you're constantly diverted, then you're not going to get anything done. So your focus is truly what you want to guard with your life. Next. So let me go through a few ways of how I have guarded my focus. We're shifting gears into how you can get more with your time, okay? I'm just going to speak from what's worked for me. Okay, the first thing I did is I focused on my earning capacity so I could earn a decent amount of money, right? I was in sales, I was working a job, and then I started buying and flipping and wholesaling homes. Those were ways to increase my earning capacity, right? Once I earned more, well then I needed to hire out the things that were dragging me down. One of the easiest ways was hiring a cleaner. And I remember at first I was like, there's no way, like I can't hire a cleaner. But then once it happened, I was like, oh my gosh, I have more time now, right? One of the next easiest ways was I hired a landscaper, or not a landscaper, a lawn care person, right? And so I was like, oh my gosh, I don't mow my lawn anymore. Like, this is incredible. And I'll say Brandon Turner, I saw Brandon Turner make a post on this and it really resonated with me. He said in his class, the rich parents in his class, he had one of his classmates had rich parents and they had a cleaner. And he's like, must be nice, right? Must be nice to have a cleaner. And as Brandon Turner said, now he learned that he wasn't rich. He didn't have a cleaner because he was rich. He got rich because he had a cleaner. Make sense? Okay. So I'm going to ask you a question. What are you worth an hour? And by the way, this isn't a dick measuring contest. You're not going to share it. But seriously, do you know what you're worth an hour right now? If you don't know, you need to know, right? And that is, number one, what is your employer paying you? Or number two, if you're in business, like what do you actually earn? If you don't know, just what did you make last year divided by 2,000 hours? That's on average. If you're a business owner and you're working 90,000 hours a week, then the results will vary. So go ahead and go to the next slide. You need to know what your buyback rate is. Dan Martell talks about this. So when you start to actually systemize out operations, you need to know what you can actually hire, right? You shouldn't hire someone, it's $100 an hour if you make $100 an hour. That's not gonna be a good trade for you, right? But if you make $40 an hour, well now, divide that by 4, you can afford to hire someone for 10 bucks an hour. And now you know what your limit is. Can you do less? Sure, right? But now you know what your limit is for a good trade for you to start trading your time to get bigger and better results. Next. Okay, so I did this in really 3 tiers, and I'm gonna break it out into each tier for you. Tier 1, hired out lawn care, got that. Hired out cleaning, yep. And then hired out cooking. Now, the easiest way is just have a meal prep service, prep meals for you. Guys, do you know how much time we spend cooking and cleaning dishes? Like, it's insane. And so you can just hire a meal prep service for 14 bucks a meal or 11 bucks a meal through Factor or Mealbox Omaha to have meals delivered to you. So now you throw it in a mic or put it in an oven if you really want to be healthy. And then you don't have any dishes to clean either. So now you have no dishes and you have no cooking. Wow, you can do more with your time. There you go.
Wyatt,
Yeah.
can you hire someone to have the conversation with their spouse about what they want for dinner? I would save a lot of hours. When I was that business, I think that would have some gains.
Yeah, thankfully my wife is not too picky. She's the best. All right. Next, I would hire out property management. So how it worked for me, I was working my job and I was doing property management on the side as I built my portfolio. I did that until I got up to 15 units. At that point, I bought a 23 unit and I was like, there's no way, right? So I hired out property management at that point and kept focus on acquisitions. And to be honest with you guys, something I really think that my life would have been a lot different is if I didn't take property management back when I got up to 76 units. So I kind of wish I would have just never touched property management for the rest of my life, but I did. So I would hire property management out if you can. So that's tier 1. Tier 2, once you start to get your feet wet, you start to do more deals. Let's say you flip a property and you make $30,000. Well, boom, there you go. Now you can start to do more of these. Tier 2. So hire a virtual assistant. You can do that for as little as $3 or $5 an hour. I've got 2 on my team of my home buying company, which we do 7 figures, which it's just 2 VAs and me and my partner. And our 2 VAs do 80% of our work for 10 bucks an hour, by the way. Next one is a bookkeeper. So I would recommend just hiring out a bookkeeping agency as you start to grow your business. Just hire it out. If you need a recommendation, let me know. Hal, I know we were talking about that for your business, but especially like my mastermind students, it's just not worth it. Like hire it out. You can focus on, imagine you did 2 deals a month, each at $30,000. You made $60,000 in a month just from doing 2 flips. We've done 30 this year. Our average is $30,000. Like, it's worth hiring out. I promise you the deals are out there. Next. All right, tier 3, after you get a bookkeeper, then you can start to look on full-time employees. So that's when you start to, bring on a full-time assistant, bring on, if you're doing property management, bring on somebody who's gonna be doing that, maintenance, whatnot, from there. And really, here's the hierarchy of what to hire out. The first thing is your administrative tasks. So like anything like customer service, administrative, hire all of that out first. Next, you get into sales. So hire out sales once you have everything administrative set first, because sales is a higher level skill. If you can bring more money in, you don't want to hire that out yet. After you hire out sales, then you can start to hire out leadership. But that's the tiers that you do it within. And I can tell you, life is a whole lot different when you're not doing administrative for for the rest of your life. All right, next. So now you know how to get more time. And we talked about this. If you're not at that place yet, remember, start earning more. So if you're in a job where you're capped, what I did at Thrasher is I moved states to go work at Thrasher. Why? Because I love ripping people off on their basements. No, just joking. Why? Because I could get paid commissions, right? So the work I put in, I could get paid. I could get paid more, right? And so I earned more because I put in the work and I got more commission, right? And so I would get in a role where you either make really good money or you're doing a business on the side. And like I said, flipping is it's what I do, it's what I believe in. I got into multifamily, not so fun. Flipping, a whole lot more fun. So I would recommend go flip a house, make $30,000, and then move on to the next. And then you can start hiring out. Okay. So we covered two things. We covered how to build an effective system. Now you understand how to get more for your time. So now I'm going to go over, for those of you who actually have a portfolio, or for those of you who want to have a portfolio, how to use the systems that I use in my portfolio for managing it. Next. So we talked quite in depth if you're going to do third-party or first-person property management. I would really recommend, if you don't know your answer yet, look at what you're worth and then look at what you would be saving or making, look at what you would be saving in cost. So if you know you're worth, $20 an hour and property management, you've got 2 properties, it's going to charge you $100, per month on those properties, or $200 per month. You just look at how many tasks they're handling for you compared to what you would do. The trade is almost always don't do it, just FYI. Next. If you are going to self-manage, don't be that guy. Don't not have a CRM. Don't not have leases. Don't not have an eviction attorney. Don't not have a place for work orders to go for your residents. Like, have things set up, okay? I'll tell you, there was an old landlord in our market here that reached out to me because of social media, by the way, and paid me a good amount of money to be a consultant for him to help him streamline his portfolio. He was making $200,000 less in cash per year than he could have been if he would have just gotten to market rents and built in some systems. This was a guy that never raised rents because he didn't want to have an eviction. Like, he didn't want to have turnover because he would do the work himself. This is a guy with over 100 and some units, just locally, super mom and pop. Anyways, he implemented that. He added over $3 million in equity in his portfolio just by having things collected and some systems and using a software. So use the CRM. All right. So if you're going to self-manage, here's some CRMs that I recommend. Next. So 1 to 5 units, Avail. This is I don't know if it's free, but it's sure darn close to. I would recommend if you're at that level. Next, if you're between 5 to 99, Doorloop is a CRM that I would recommend for you guys. And then if you're over 100, AppFolio is what I use. I know it's what Andy Curry uses. It's a pretty big beast. And then if you're 1,000 plus, you can use Entrata or Yardi or some other larger softwares from there. Okay, property management vendors. So if you're gonna own property, you need to have vendors. You need to have people that you can reliably call on to do things for you. So create a master vendor list. You can have this in your Google Drive folder. Guess what? In the meetup, great place to find vendors, right? Ask in the meetup and then see who actually comments on the page and recommends someone. I don't recommend going with someone who's advertising their business. I recommend going with an investor that is saying, hey, this guy is who I worked with and this is who I recommend. Like how? Yeah.
One quick tip on that, I think I mentioned it before. If you go to any new city, go to the RIA page and go to the search bar on the top. If you're looking for a plumber, you type in plumber, and every single time somebody asks for a plumber, it will pop up there for the life of that group. And then you can look at the comments and look for some consistency.
Yep.
And I talked to Sarah Weaver on the podcast, and she said that every time she opens a new city up, she does that. She creates every single category she wants to fill, and then fills it off of that, just like you said. But just a little tip on that.
Beautiful. Love it. How do you reduce your risk from working with someone? You get a referral from someone who's already worked with them, right? If you've never worked with them and you don't know anyone recommending them, big risk. Would not do it. Omaha's a small enough city. Next. All right. When you're owning property, you have urgent fixes and you have non-urgent fixes, which means you have urgent pricing and non-urgent pricing. So there's Joe the plumber. I'm not going to say his real name. That's the guy I use for everything that's not urgent because he charges me not a lot. He's great. It's just one dude with a truck. But if I've got a leak that needs fixed right now, he is not going to get there. He's always weeks out, right? And so that's an urgent fix, which means I'm going to be hurting on that one, but I'm going to call a company like Major Drain, who has a huge staff that can afford to send someone out right then and right there, or for emergency issues. So you need both types of vendors. And if you're only using the urgent vendors, then you're paying urgent pricing. And urgent pricing is the companies that can afford to have a big shop, have trucks, market and advertise. All of those are baked into the pricing that you're going to be paying for. Cool? Next. Utilize Facebook groups. We talked about that. All right. Phone system. We did talk about that. This is a sheet. This is my KPI sheet of my property management company. So you can see this is our employees or people that are on there. You can see who had a call, who missed one, and we do this every single day. So my VA takes a screenshot of this and posts it on our public channel so our entire company can see if there are any missed calls. And so Adam is responsible for the calls. If Adam misses it, it goes to Michaela. If Michaela misses it, it goes to me. Next. We talked about if you're just starting Google Voice. Yep. If it's you and teammates, this is called Nextiva, is what I use. I would recommend it for teams so that you can keep your team accountable. Why do I do that? Transparency, accountability. How do you hold people to the standard? Make sure the data is always there. And then I use AMBS for a call center. So if you're looking for an emergency call center, this is who I found is the most affordable. Fun fact, Lund uses them too. Next. All right, so at this point, now you know how to do property management if you want to. If you don't want to, then you should be asking, how do I hire a property manager? Because your operations are only going to be as good as the person running them. So you want to make sure you hire a quality one. I have fired 2 property managers in my life, and it has not been fun. So number 1 is you got to find out the costs for them. Ask them what their fees are. You can just kind of roll through a few of these. Okay. Yeah, ask them what their fees are. I'm going to go into each one, just individual. You're also going to want to find quality property managers. So these guys run your stuff. You need to find out their experience level. So I really won't want to give my portfolio to someone who's just getting started. Let's give them a shot. And then lastly, how they operate their business, AKA your business. So you got to find out what are their processes and systems and where do they have holes in them, right? So we'll go into each one of these just individually. I know this is getting a little dry, but we're going to end it with something fun. So, yeah. All right. So in finding out costs, there are so many costs baked into property management. So the second company that I fired for property management, I thought I negotiated the best deal. I was like, yo, I've got a 50 some unit portfolio. I want it at 6%. And they're like, done. I'm like, sweet. I'm going to save on cost here. Well, turns out they charge a leasing fee. They charge a renewal fee. Their maintenance costs are absurd because they charge trip charges and they mark up all of their maintenance techs. So I did the math. I was paying 14% on the property manager that was charging me 6% between their 6% plus fees. So there are a lot of fees that property managers can hide from investors. So you need to know their costs. Find those out. All right. Next, how to find them. We talked about this. Don't call out of the blue. Get referrals. And guys, there's not a lot of investors that are like, I love my property manager. I haven't met a lot of them. We'll say that. But if you find someone that's like, you know what? They're not shit. Well, then they're worth something. So yeah. Find one that isn't terrible from other investors. Next.
That's a slogan. I'm not sure.
Yeah. All right. Find out their experience levels. We talked about this, but find out how long they've been in business. what maintenance techs, like how many techs do they have on service? Because guess what? If they don't have any techs, on payroll, if they don't have any maintenance techs on payroll, guess what? They're third partying your maintenance to another company. That other company has an entire company to make money on, right? And so you're actually paying for that third party maintenance tech. So it's much better to have property managers that have maintenance in-house, assuming they don't mark up a ton of fees. If you want a playbook or a guide on how to choose a third-party property manager, I have an entire interview question of 2-page guide. So you can scan that, you can get the entire interview section for here's exactly what to ask, and you can go through it. Somewhere along the journey, I got really tired of working with brain damage. You guys know the contractors that are like, oh, I was gonna be there on Tuesday, but you know, I'd pick up my kid, shit. Right? So, but that guy bid it for like $500 less than the other guy. So I went with that guy, right? The guy that bids it for $500 less is the brain damage, usually. So you can choose, somewhere along my journey, I chose to stop being a babysitter and start being a business owner. And that meant that I had to buy deals with enough margin to hire a contractor that had a brain. And sorry if you're a contractor, I'm being harsh. But long story short, I hired a contractor that I can trust because I'm gonna pay more, but it's gonna get done right. That's how you move from being a babysitter to a business owner, right? So the way to do that, and then just a few how-tos. Number one, create a scope of work. If you don't have that contractor yet, then you need to find that person. How you find that person is by creating a scope of work on a project before they get there. So they have exactly what they know you know needs done. And then you can have apples to apples bids between them and another guy and another guy and another guy. So you can shop all of it at once. Once you do the shopping, don't always go with the cheapest, okay? You got to give them a chance. After that, don't pay them all up in front, right? Hal does 10%, I think you said, which is wonderful. So, I've seen this happen. I've had this happen on my third house. I got ripped off 20 grand. It was terrible. But don't pay the person up in front, right? And if you've never worked with them, pay them a little bit. Pay them 10%. Pay them 15%. Don't pay them a quarter. Like, see work be done. Trust is earned. Once it's earned, then you can start to build that system around it, right? That's exactly how I did it with my contractor I use now. Trust was earned. It was not given. And then lastly, you inspect what you expect, which is earning trust, right? You're checking on the project. You're making sure things are actually being done the way you want it. That's how you move from a business owner or babysitter to a business owner. All right. Bookkeeping. Sucks. We talked about how to do it, so I'm just gonna skip through this slide, but set up a business account, link a software. That's how you do bookkeeping a lot quicker. These are some examples of how we do it. I would say right now, my system, just so you know, my world, I have 550 transactions a month between all just the rent transactions, right? And utilities and bills. So I have a virtual assistant that I pay $5 an hour. He goes through and he matches the account and the transaction to what happened in our AppFolio feed. So that's our level 1 pass. He matches literally everything. Anything that doesn't match, he then categorizes the best he can, but if he has a question, he asks me, right? So he goes through all of our bank accounts. He sends me a feed of anything that he doesn't know. Usually it's like 12 to 20 transactions. At that point, it's usually like, I spent money for a business meal and he didn't know what it was for, right? So I just have to categorize the things that only I know what they are, right? I then send it back to his plate. He categorizes things. And then any higher level task, because guys, I'm not that smart with bookkeeping, if you haven't seen. Any higher level task, I have a fractional CFO that I hired because I can't afford to hire her for $250,000 a year, but I can hire her along with 20 other businesses to help make sure all the books are done perfectly. So that's how we do it. We call that level 3. She blesses the books, she catches anything she catches, she does all the reconciling, and then every single month we close our books. We have clean reporting to both myself, my partners, and our investors, and we know what has gone where. And that's all done by the 15th. So that's how we do books now. Yeah, we talked about bookkeeping softwares. So if you're starting out, Stessa is free and it's awesome. So would recommend, it will do everything for you. If you're like, I want to grow a little bit more, then QuickBooks is awesome. That's what I use on my home buying company and my coaching business. So other businesses. And then if you're larger, then Appfolio, Buildium, Yardi, Entrata, all of those have bookkeeping capabilities. Not a huge fan of Appfolios, to be honest, but is what it is. All right. So now you know property management, you know all those things. The next thing is asset management. So asset management is managing your assets, which could mean managing the manager. Okay? So some of you are like, how do I do these things? I don't want to give up trust. Well, guess what? You give up a little trust, but then you manage them to make sure it's still being done right. So that is asset management. Fun fact, do you know that planes are off track 90% of the time? 90% of the time they're off track, but they're constantly course correcting so that they make sure to hit their target. That's what asset management is. When you buy a deal, guess what? Things may get off track, but you're constantly course correcting to make sure, oh, that tenant's not paying utilities, or that tenant is, not paying utilities in their name. We need to get that switched, right? Why did we get charged this from our trash company? Like, we need to make sure that that doesn't happen again. We need to build a surround or whatnot. Right? Tenants are all moving out. Like, we got this really bad tenant that is causing a ruckus. Okay, we need to non-renew this guy to make this place a good place again. And if you catch it early, well, then your year isn't going to be screwed. But you catch these things late, if you only look at your books once a year, there's a lot of stuff going on that you don't know. All right. So how you do it is you set the budget, compare what the budget was based on how you bought the deal to what actually happened. Budgets to actuals. The boring stuff that moves and wins championships. Not going to get too far into the details with this, but asset management, first thing I'm looking for is income. Next thing is expenses. Next thing is, what is my NOI? Am I on track or off track? And if so, by how much? Next thing is CapEx. So what am I spending in my mortgage? What am I spending in capital expenditures? And then net income, net cash flow. So what did I actually make this month? And you can tell I crushed it that month. I made negative $3.
Nice.
Right? So yeah, we can skip through this. This is just some things I use for my dashboard. I'm always looking at, occupancy, current and future, and my renewal rates and my eviction rates and everything else. So we can just kind of roll these through. I want to get to the last point here. Yeah, if you guys want, if you guys want my asset management, like literally the KPIs that I pull every single month, you can scan that code. You can download it. It's a free Google Sheet. I have done many iterations of it, but that's what I use for my portfolio. So would recommend. Covers a lot of stuff in there. All right, we're 3 out of 4. How we doing? Here we go. So now you guys know how to build an effective system. You know how to get more for your time. You know how to plug in the systems that I use. You even got some free tools for it. And now I'm going to show you, if I were to restart everything from zero, what would I do today? And this, I hope, changes the frame of what you're thinking through right now to help you get to your goals faster. Hit it. All right. So if I were restarting today, I would do a 2-step framework. I would be a business owner, so buy or make a business, and then invest it in real estate. Click. That's the secret right there. So, is that the next slide? What's the difference? Okay. What's the difference? So let me ask you this. What is the difference between strategy and tactics? Does anybody know the answer to that?
Tactics are what you do to get to the strategy.
Tactics.
Strategy come to life.
Yes, tactics are what you do to make the strategy come to life. That is exactly right. Yep. So strategy is the high level what to do. Tactics are how to do it. So I just covered tactfully what to do for asset management. So you can plug and play that system, right? But guess what? If I was restarting today from nothing, the first thing I would do is not become an asset manager. The first thing I would do is start a business. So I would start generating a lot of cash, doing something that can generate cash. Because guess what? We'll go to the next thing here. So I'll tell you a story. In 2024 of January, I am a real estate investor, right? I'm a real estate investor. I've got all these units, and I am sitting in the living room with my wife in tears because I feel like such a failure. I am seeing my cash go to zero. I'm a multimillionaire, all this equity, but I'm watching my cash just go to zero. Taxes, insurance, costs, inflation, all of that cash flow I thought I had was not truly cash flowing. And guess how I built my portfolio? A lot of BRRRR, a lot of leverage. So guess what? I had a lot of debt expense that was getting paid down every month, cool, but my cash was going to zero. And so I felt like such a failure because I had the wrong strategy. I was a real estate investor chasing cash flow. And what I learned is that I wanted to make $20,000 a month. That's what I wanted. That was my number. If I can make $20,000 a month, I have made it, right? That was what I was going after. Well, guess what? If you're a real estate investor, you need about $2.5 to $4 million to make $20,000 a month. If you're making a 6 to 10% return, that's how much money you need. So if you have $2.5 to $4 million, then go buy real estate and crush it. I didn't have that in my 20s, right? And so I had to learn a different strategy to get me out of that. So let me ask you this. Why do you want to invest in real estate? I'm not going to make you share, but just think in your head. Why do you want to invest in real estate? What is the monthly income number that you're after? Okay, everybody got it? Second question, when do you want to be there? You see, the reason I was so discouraged is because I wanted to be there now. Yet I was going to have to wait for 10, 20 years for mortgages to get paid off to actually get there. And that was not fun. So the last thing is, what's your strategy? What are you actually doing in real estate to make that monthly income goal? Okay, and I can tell you, you can probably get there a whole lot faster if you own a business, rather than trying to just buy real estate and be a passive real estate investor. Okay, next. So, do you want to be a real estate investor? Do you want to be a business owner? Or do you want to be an employee? Right? There are different vehicles that will get you to different places. And there is no wrong answer, just by the way. People love bikes, people love Honda Civics, people love Ferraris, right? There is no wrong answer. Guess what? The people that own a Ferrari, it's fucking hard. Like, entrepreneurship is hard. And so some of you might be loving your job, and the best frame for you to do is to just keep your job and buy real estate. Buy one a year and keep this thing super passive, enjoy the time with your family, and you're gonna get wealthy. Like, you will become a multimillionaire if you just do that. But if you're like, I wanna get there faster, well, that means flipping a house, making $30,000 in 2 months, that takes a lot of work. And to be able to do it repetitively, that takes more work. To be able to own a hard money company or raise a bunch of capital from investors and become a syndicator and buy multifamily apartments consistently. Guess what? Those are all businesses. They just are in the real estate realm. The only passive part is owning it, if you're not the manager. All right, so if I were restarting today from zero, I think I made it pretty clear. I would start a business that generates a bunch of cash, like flipping homes, and then I would invest it in real estate so I don't pay taxes as a real estate professional. And I would do it through value-add real estate. The second part of that is, when you do that through value-add real estate, you can make your dollar work even further for you. So you can utilize leverage to grow further and faster. All right, so we covered it. We covered systems. We covered how to get more for your time. We covered systems that you can plug and play in your current portfolio. And we covered how to get from zero to wherever you want to go. So with that, thanks for being here. Ted, thanks for putting this on. That's it.
Give it up for White Sun.
All right. Thank you, guys.
All right, and there you have it. So if you guys like this video, I've got another video of exactly what I'd be doing in 2026. Go ahead and click that if you want to go. Otherwise, if you want to work with me one-on-one, I will do literally a free strategy call for a one-on-one hour strategy to deep dive your business, where you're at, and how we can get you unbottlenecked. So if you'd like that, click the link below. Other than that, God bless you. I will see you in the next one.